On today's Ball State of the Union, we have a special guest from Ball State Football Talk. It's Colin, and we're going to be talking about our Ball State wish list. It's the holiday season. We wrote down some things we would love to see in the near future or, in the far off future about things we would love at Ball State that maybe we'll find wrapped under our Christmas tree. All that and more next. We're talking Ball State. Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State. Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Schumann, Bell Tower, and Worthen. Fans Oliver from Muncie to Berlin. Getting Concanons, Carters, and Greeks. We have a special guest, Colin from Ball State Football Talk. Colin, how are we doing today?
Let's go. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yep.
Ball State of the Union.
We're happy to have you. I see your stuff on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, all the time. Especially these last couple of days, Colin's really been after him about our post-game press conferences or lack thereof. So when I was seeing those, it was right around Thanksgiving, right? Maybe a little after Thanksgiving. December comes around. So I think, you know what, man, my Christmas tree's up in my house already. I'm putting the lights up. I need to start getting my wish list ready for Santa Claus. And I was thinking this would be a perfect spot to get Colin on here and we talk about things we would love to see at Ball State, whether it's in the athletic department, football team, basketball team, anything. It can be whatever we want. So, Colin, I'm going to give the floor to you to go ahead and start on this. What would be the number one thing on your Ball State holiday wish list?
So I know a lot of people are thinking I'm going to say the post-game press conferences, but I'm going to start easy here. I'm going to go with hiring the right coach for 2025. Right now, we're in a bit of a state of limbo. Other teams are starting to hire their next coach. You just saw FAU just hired, I think it was Clintley. I might be, pardon me if I'm mistaken that, but I think that puts a little bit more pressure on us too to get it right, but also to do it in a timely fashion. So I think that's the very first thing I'm going to go with is making the right hire at head coach. Hopefully something splashy. I would love something off the Cignetti branch. Bryant Haynes, knock on wood. Tyler Stockton, I'm okay with that. I like that. That's a safe choice. I've seen Eddie Faulkner pushed out there a little bit, but I don't really know about that. I don't have too much information on him, but I'm not saying it'd be a bad hire. I think I'd be okay with it. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I don't have like a super strong opinion on any particular person. Like all those names that you said are ones that I've kind of seen floating around. My best thought is I kind of look at it from a couple different angles. Obviously, I think the main goal would be obviously number one, get the correct hire. And actually, as of recording of this, we have not hired a football coach. That could, who knows, change by the time this is posted. We don't know. But as of right now, we haven't hired anybody. But obviously, you want to get someone who's going to come in and do a good job. That's obviously win. That's what we want to do first and foremost. But then kind of off to the side of that, you kind of have to know who you are. And at Ball State, obviously, we're not the premier job in the state, in the region, hell, even the conference right now. Hopefully that can change at some point. So you kind of want to try and find someone that not only can come in and win, but can also, you're able to keep them long term. So, that's obviously always going to be hard to do. So you kind of have to look at it. Do you want to hire a kind of young and upcoming guy who maybe gives you the best chance to maybe win right away, but you also are going to have on the double-edged sword the chance to lose them pretty quickly? So you have that, or you can kind of look at somebody maybe who's been up at a bigger type program and is looking to come down and maybe kind of have a landing spot back as a head coach. You look at Frank Solich at Ohio. He was a coach in Nebraska during some pretty good times for them, got fired from there and came, and they were able to keep him for 15 years. And they were, obviously had a lot of success in that time frame. So
right.
I don't know exactly who the right hire is. I'm not paid to do that. I'm not paid to really do anything in that, that regard. But so yeah, I was floating around. This was I was going on a walk earlier today, getting ready for this sit down. If we can get an alumni, that's always better because you're going to be able to theoretically keep them longer. And like I said, maybe we could get someone who's had some success, at a higher level. Heck, get Brady Hoke on the phone. Let's call him back up. Let's get Brady Hoke. Let's run back 2008. he's an alumni. He's had some success. He had a big time job at Michigan. Let's get him back. Let's get Brady Hoke back on the phone. So I don't know. So yeah, well, I don't
think it's
that's
coming
gonna
soon,
happen.
though, John.
I think it has
I think
to.
it's coming soon.
It has to, because isn't like the portal is opening and closing, and other people are going to be hiring stuff. Like, they're going to have to get this going. I think they were one of the first teams to fire their coach, and people who fired after them are starting to hire. So they're going to have to really get this going.
Speaking of the portal, we're losing some dogs. I want to give a shout out to Dee Snyder. Shout out to Justin Bowick Jr. Thanks for coming to Ball State in the first place. We love you. You're a beast.
Yeah, I agree.
Anybody who's here in transfers.
Yeah, say it's just kind of the new norm, whether it be good or bad. You're going to get guys in, coming in, taking a chance on guys, and if they come in and perform, they're going to want to go. And I mean, I can't really fault them too much on that, because not all of them are going to have a chance to go play at the next level. So if they have a chance to go make some money right now, you can't really fault them for doing that. But yeah, it's sad to see him go. But I think it's kind of a new norm. The first real real kick in the gut for that was when that happened to Carson Steele back in the day. He went to the same high school as me, obviously went to the same college for a little bit. So it's kind of been that way ever since, and probably will be that way going forward. So, all right, anything else on the head coach?
That's all I got right now. That's all I got. I want the Cignetti effect. I think we all do.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Now, if you wake up Christmas morning and you got a grown-ass man wrapped up and parked under your tree, then you'll know this worked.
Hey, if it's Cignetti, I'll let him stay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, so we kind of touched on a couple things, and I'm going to kind of go into my first point, my biggest thing that I would like to see. I want us to have a clear and defined NIL collective. If you kind of look into what Ball State is doing, and I'll kind of share the screen a little bit here, because I think it's an extremely poor effort right now from what I'm seeing. Now, there could be doing other things behind the scenes, and I'm sure they probably are, but what is available for the public to see? I want you to kind of look at this here. And I'm sure you've probably seen this as well. So first of all, actually, before I go to Ball States, I'm gonna do two other ones first. First, I'm gonna do who I think is our biggest rival in football, and that's NIU, or at least in my book they are. So you can see this. This is the NIU Boneyard. So this is kind of their NIL collective homepage. This is what people see if they search, NIL for NIU. So look, you have a direct call to action right here. $8.99 a month. That's nothing. That's less than a subscription service. You can get on here, get a lot of information. This is kind of what theirs looks like. Okay.
I like the bone thing they do too. After they beat a cool team,
yeah,
they put that little dog bone up with a little plaque underneath that. I like.
Yeah. So I think that's a nice looking NIL page. Again, it has that call to action, $8.99 a month. Okay, now let me go to who I think is our biggest rival in men's basketball, and that is Indiana State. And so again, nice homepage. You can see some information about them. Again, $8.99. These are like the same exact things here. Okay. Right. Got some information. Nice looking homepage. Now, I'm going to take you to Ball State's page. Okay. Now, remember what we just saw. So these are the teams we're competing against, NIU and Indiana State, and men's basketball and football, which are the two biggest, most important sports. Now, all sports in the athletic department are important. I was a member of the men's volleyball team, and non-revenue sport, but when it comes down to it, where you're going to make your bread and butter, your money is going to be those. So look at what Ball State is putting forward here now. So this is the Feed the Bird Foundation. Now, I don't know about you, Colin, but ever since this was formed, I haven't really heard much about it. So you scroll down. This is all we see on our page. There's no call to action. There's no, hey, for $8.99, you can do this, you can do that. But here's the thing that really shows me that really no effort is being put into this. I'm going to go to this athletes section. What names do you see here in red?
Oh, no.
Marcus Cooper. Oh, no. What name do you see here?
Brady Hunt.
These are people who have played full-ass seasons with other teams. Brady Hunt's at South Carolina. Marcus Cooper's at San Diego State. That means, and sorry, I kind of popped out of there for a second. That means this has just sat dormant ever since it was made. No one has updated this. No one has said, oh, hey, we need to really be pushing this. We need to do anything like that. It's just basically they made it because, hey, NIL is a thing now. We can do this. Let's make a page. And then it's just kind of been left by the wayside. And so there was no call to action. There's no, oh, hey, for $5 a month. So I don't know if they just need to full on just say the Cardinal Varsity Club is our NIL fund now, since it's an established thing people know. I don't really know what they should do, but it doesn't seem to me like much is being done. I don't know. You kind of have your pulse and are always kind of digging in the background. Do you have any more information on what's going on at the NIL front? Because it doesn't seem to me like anything's going on.
I hope they're working on it because I didn't even see really a 8.99 sort of
No.
button there, like to just pledge something every month. That would be something, maybe we can pass along to Jeff Mitchell, Kevin Messenger, hopefully, is let's get that added at least, the 8.99 option. It looks like it's pretty standard. Everybody's got that. But not only that, how about we start a collective? I
Yeah.
don't really know how to do that, but I had people
Yeah.
in my DMs when I was going on my little, post-game press conference rant. I had people
Mhm.
asking me to start a collective. I don't really know. You know anything about that, John?
Not really. I mean, it's such a new thing in college sports, as you know, and so I don't really know much about it. But I'm not trying to be too hard on them here. I mean, I probably should, because I just don't think they're even trying with that feed the bird thing they have. But I can almost guarantee you, a handful of us can come together and put together a better effort than that.
Right.
Because
I mean, there's
the,
loyal Ball State fans that are in my DMs, like wanting to work with the community, all of us together. I mean, I don't know what we would call it, but Ball State of the Union would be all right. I kind of like that. It's like a group. It
Mhm.
sounds good, or Ball State Collective or anything. I don't really know, but something's got to get done. I don't like losing our stars. I don't even want to think about losing Caden Simones or Tanner Koziel.
Yeah,
Like, it just makes me sick to my stomach. It'll probably happen, unfortunately. And look, I love those guys. I hope they go on to kill it, but I don't want to see them leave. But if someone's going to give them money and we don't have any way to give them money, I think it's their right to go and get the bag. I
oh,
think
for
they
sure.
should go and get the bag.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at like Tanner Koziel. I've I've come to the conclusion I think he's going to end up in the NFL and having a decent NFL career. Caden Simons is probably not going to be in the NFL. So again, like you said, if he has a chance to go out and make some more money than he's making here, because if he's making any money here, it can't be very much.
Right.
You can't fault him. But obviously, at the end of the day, as Ball State fans, we want to quarterback is the most important position. You definitely want to keep them if you can. So yeah. So
If Tanner Koziel does transfer, look out for Notre Dame. Mitchell Evans is leaving. It'll be his last year.
mhm.
Tanner Koziel is like a Northern Illinois kind of guy. I think he's from that region. Notre Dame's a tight end U sort of spot. I love that pairing. I like
Yeah,
it a lot.
yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that could happen, but yeah, number one on my wish list is I want a clear and defined NIL that is A, kept up on, and B, is distributed to the masses. So
Jeff
um,
Mitchell, let us know. Let us
yeah,
know what we can do to help. Kevin
we'll help.
Messenger, let us know. We're
We'll help
here.
you. We'll help you. All right, Colin, what's number two on your list?
Number 2 coming up, but real quick, Tanner Koziel, if you're seeing this, please still send me a jersey. I'm waiting. I'll send you my Addy. Okay, number 2 is build the Ball State brand. Right now, I mean, we've done it a little bit. We changed it from this Cardinal to the dancing Charlie. I love the dancing Charlie with the flag, where he's running with the flag. I don't know if you remember the Western Kentucky University helmets where it's got the different positions
I
and they're
got you.
throwing the football, they're
I got
punting
you
the
right here.
football. This made such a splash.
Yep.
And it's such a small thing. Like, who honestly really cares about that? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of cool, but what you wear one or two games a year. But just a little splash of something viral. Just to like get the brand, get the name out there. How about we do some of that, ourselves? And not just I kind of want to see something with the ball jar. I want to see something with our iconic the things that we have ties to at Ball State. I don't want to get too far into it, but
I
I'm
got one
sure you
for
have
you
some
here.
ideas yourself.
So
I just think
actually, yeah, go ahead.
and also one last thing, the home field, there's a little website called Home Field where you can get really clean apparel for
Hmm.
colleges. They've got
I
IU,
bought
they've
from
got
them
all the Big
before.
Ten. Yeah. Why do they not have anything on Ball State? Is it on us to reach out to them, or how does that work? Because I mean, even fresh clothing, if
Hmm.
you do something cool enough, people will pick that up. And I feel like Ball State isn't really specific to the point where someone will be like, "Oh, I don't even know where Ball State's at." If the gear is fresh enough, somebody will rock that. Ball
Mhm.
State's pretty generic, I feel like. In the grand scheme, if you're in LA or something, Ball State, they probably don't even know what that is. But if we make something clean enough, that could really work for anything.
Yeah. Um, and actually, I'm going to kind of jump in here. Well, actually, first with home field, they do have a few Ball State items. The issue
Okay.
is they were when they first came out, because I have a shirt from them when they first came out, was however many years ago. They haven't added anything new in years. So that's the first thing.
Gotcha.
So that I don't really love. But I want to talk about helmets a little bit because that is actually a point I have on here. So you might not know this about me, but I actually was. So I was on the men's volleyball team as a walk on, and then when I was done playing, I was actually a student manager for the football team, and then that led me to a handful of equipment jobs in my early 20s. Ended up working in the NFL for a little while in the equipment rooms. So I have a little bit of expertise in the equipment field. And helmet combinations is one of the things on my list. It's further down on the list, but we can kind of run over real quick.
Sure.
Um, I like the change to the Dancing Charlie. I like that. My
Definitely.
problem is we basically, for the most part, just use the same thing all year. We have, the Dancing Charlie on one side, numbers on the other. I don't really love the numbers on the side of the helmet personally.
Same.
Some people might, but I'm not saying that's bad. I just not my cup of tea. But you see all these teams we're playing, they have different stuff every single week, it seems like. And
Right.
I understand the staffing with the football team, they cut the assistant equipment manager job a couple years back. So now there's one person and just students. So that does take a lot of time to change that stuff every week. But everywhere else is figuring out how to do it. And it's just something that I would really like to see. And it's not that much more money just to get extra sets of decals in. Now, if we wanted to bring back the red helmets like we did a few years ago, I would like to see those come back personally. But that's a lot more expensive. I get that. But it's just simple stuff. Even like you're talking about the ball jar. Saw, I'd have to go back and find it. Maybe I'll send it to you on Twitter. That helmet exists. It was in Mike New's office. He did a random interview for maybe like the Ball State Day or something they do in the spring. It was up on his bookshelf in the background. It had the ball script on it. So that's been made. But that was before last year. So they never ended up using it. I don't really know why. I think that would be a cool alternate. And like you said, with the Western Kentucky stuff, we had that Dancing Charlie with the American flag that they used on election night when we played Miami of Ohio. Best helmet we did this year by
Hands
far.
down.
Best one by far. We could also do some cool throwback helmets. Now our helmets have never been that crazy different, but they've had some different Cardinal iterations throughout the years. That would be fun. And then we both were talking about this earlier without either of us knowing that we were talking about it. But it's our man Garfield. He's been used. We've used Garfield before. You can see there's a couple programs I've watched on eBay because I kind of want to get a few of them. But we've used Garfield before. And if you're watching this and you're not familiar, the creator of Garfield, Jim Davis, he's a Ball State alumni. And so it'd be really cool if they could kind of collaborate with him and that company and make some Ball State kind of Ball State Garfield inspired type, decals for the helmet. I think it'd be pretty cool. So yeah, that's a long rant on helmets, but that was on my list as well. I would like to at least see a little bit more creativity with the helmets. And I understand
100%.
from an equipment manager standpoint that you might not have the manpower, but everyone else does it. So let's figure it out.
I don't like the block script when it's Ball State on the side where it actually reads Ball State on the side. I would prefer if it was cursive. If we use the ball jar font on there as well.
Yes.
And I literally I haven't seen the helmet you're describing that Mike New had in his office, but if it had an actual ball jar on the side with the words ball on it, I think that would connect something for a lot of people. Not a lot of people know the ball jar, Ball State, same thing.
Correct. Yeah, I live in Florida, and anytime I will explain people Ball State, if they're say we're having a beer or we're drinking a bottle of water, I'll usually be able to find the ball logo somewhere on that and be like, that's who these people are. And so yeah, in the mason jars, everyone we're like in South Florida, so we're kind of out of the South where mason jars are like a huge thing, but we can kind of describe it that way as well. So okay, all right.
What do you got for me, John?
I got my next one here. So I know you're Ball State football talk, but I want to talk a little basketball here. Can I talk some basketball?
Definitely.
I want a competitive men's basketball team again. This was a powerhouse mid-major team back in the late 70s to about the early 2000s. 7 conference titles from 1981 to 2000. We haven't won the conference championship, and this is men's basketball, mind you, since 2000, but we're still tied for the most conference championships of all time. I think we're tied with Kent State and maybe Akron. So we haven't won one in almost a quarter century, and we still have the most. So this what used to be a really formidable organization or a program. You know, made the Sweet 16 in 1990. We had the Maui Invitational where we beat Duke and UCLA, or not Duke, we beat Kansas and UCLA. So we have an amazing venue in Northern Arena, and we're in a basketball hotbed state in Indiana. Obviously, it's the favorite sport in Indiana. And I really think if we had been able to hire Michael Lewis in the pre-NIL world, I think this problem would have solved itself already, because he has shown a knack to be able to get some really good players in. We just obviously can't keep anybody. So I don't really have an answer for how to fix it, but I just know 25 years is way too long for this program to be out of the NCAA tournament. So are you much of a Ball State basketball fan at all, Colin, or are you mainly just football?
A little bit. I'm actually, don't tell my Cardinal brethren, but I do have season tickets for Notre Dame women right underneath the basket on the floor. So I'm not a huge Ball State basketball guy. I will check it out. I root for them and the women, but I haven't been paying attention as much as I should. If I really wanted to comment, I saw somebody that was balling lately. I want to say he goes by the nickname of Fats.
Fat Hill. Yeah.
Shout out to him. Thanks for balling for the Cardinals, but that's all I really know.
Yeah, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of benefit of the doubt there. They really haven't given you a ton to want to follow or really get behind. And so, I started going to games before I was even a student. My brother was actually on the men's basketball team. He was a walk-on, I think 2007 through 2009. So I'd have been, freshman, sophomore in high school when he first started playing. So we were going up to the games every weekend. And really have never been good in the time I've been going. We've had a handful of okay seasons, but I think the highlight was making the MAC conference semifinals one time. So, I want a competitive, competent men's basketball team. That would have been my number one until NIL became such a big thing. So, all right,
you ready for me?
This could be a stocking stuffer. What do you got? A stocking stuffer here?
All right, just a little light one. I'll go light on this. I got some heavy ones later, but I'll say bring back storytelling. And there's one video in particular I'm really thinking of. If anyone's familiar with SportsLink, there was a video they dropped, I want to say about 7 or 8 months ago, SportsLink On the Line. And it featured Clayton Cole, Tanner Koziel, and I want to say Nick Munson might have been the third one. I'm not 100% sure, but it describes how Clayton Cole put his body on the line for us, broke, I want to say both of his hands, or like broke one of his hands in a game, finished the game, and then couldn't play anymore. Like just laid it all out there for us. I want to see more of that. There was a little bit of talk about Tanner Koziel and his resilience of what he's gone through in his life just growing up. So I love getting feature content on players. I want to learn more about Keontae Newsome when he's on the field tackling people. I want to learn more about D.D. Snyder when he's flying around. I want to know about George Udo. How did he end up at Ball State? I want to learn about Riley Tolsma, about literally any player. Give me something about someone I'm seeing like flash across my screen to make a play. It can be offense or defense. But we had like a lot of people that I think could have been cool characters. They had a story to tell, and I didn't really see much. I didn't see a lot, honestly, of content just in general.
Yeah, and Ball State SportsLink does an amazing job. But at the end of the day, they are still college students, so they're all learning and trying to get this all done. So, they put out great content. They make amazing looking stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. It would be nice if there was maybe some more consistent stuff coming out. I always say, they always talk about how the NFL is a copycat league. I think just any part of sports can be a copycat league. Like, I think you could do with how good sports is, you could do a cool Hard Knocks type thing.
Man,
if you wanted to do exactly. Like there's tons of stuff you could do. But yeah, whenever they do put out content, it is great. But yeah, not as maybe frequently as some of us would like. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I've got something to go along with that, just about our media presence in general.
Okay.
I feel like honestly, and this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way on Twitter. So if you work for the Ball State Daily News, let me give you just a little slight apology. I don't want to go back play too much, but someone did tweet me saying that our coverage from the Muncie Star was substandard. And I agree, but to be fair to that person, there's only a couple people that work at the Muncie Star. And so they're being stretched thin as it is. And I just learned that they were hired really recent or like really close to the first game. So I want to give that person, I think his name is Cade Hampton. I want to give him a chance to, ingratiate himself into the Ball State football program, get more coverage out there. And maybe I wasn't paying attention to him enough, but the coverage I saw did pale in comparison to the coverage I saw from Gus Martin.
Hmm.
I will say maybe it's just that Gus wasn't stretched as thin. I don't know what's going on in the Muncie Star Press, but it seems like the only people covering Ball State football or the only people asking questions is Cade Hampton from Muncie Star, and then the Ball State Daily News, which is a student-run organization. And sometimes, we're getting articles. Maybe it might not be the best well written. I got to give these kids a little bit of credit because, as
Hmm.
someone tweeted me, these kids still have homework.
Right.
So while I could have been down on an article, one specific article, that doesn't mean everything from Ball State Daily News is going to be bad. So I want to give them a shot, but I do think it's not fair for Ball State to apply that much pressure on Ball State Daily News that people are looking for content and we can't find content so bad that I'm criticizing the only people giving us content, which is
Hmm.
Ball State Daily News, because I want more, but they don't really have the ability to give us more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cyclical pattern there, but something's got to change. We need another media there. We need people talking Ball State football, how we're talking about Ball State football right now, because people aren't going to care about Ball State football if they aren't getting it delivered by people who are passionate about Ball State football. If I'm really a secretive Ohio State fan, but I'm tweeting you guys about Ball State football, I don't think that's going to really come through.
Mm-mm.
All I care about is Ball State football. If we lose, I'm having a shitty day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but
No, you're good.
that's all I care about. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you can tell when those people covering the team don't actually care. They're really going to turn around and watch Notre Dame. They're really going to turn around and watch IU. They're really Ohio State fans. We need people that care about Ball State. It's the only thing they care about. They live and breathe Ball State. Those need to be the people pushing Ball State and at the
Yeah.
forefront of our media.
Yeah. Yeah. And those people are going to be hard to find. But yeah, it's if we can find them, and it seems like too. You're talking about the newspaper in Muncie, not the Daily News. So at the Muncie Star, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It seems like they have a new person every year. So there, it seems like a lot of turnover, which is newspaper jobs, and newspapers are hurting, really bad. So I kind of get that, but yeah, it's like every year, okay, you follow someone, you go throughout the year, and then it's like, well, okay, where'd that guy go? And then you find the next person, and it seems like they kind of turn over quite a bit. And so again, it's
Sure.
probably a tough business to keep people in right now, but
And
I'm feeling
going
with
with
you.
the media, I'm sorry, John. This is one I'm really passionate about.
Keep going, keep
I'm
rolling.
really passionate about it. So when we don't have a post game press conference, and look, I understand now. I've been explained to in some of these locations, and John, you may still have a problem with it, but in some of these locations, I'm understanding they really do not have room for a post game press conference. Like in the facility, we'll take Kent State for an example. There, I guess it's literally the stadium, a locker room for home, and a locker room for away. And if we have a press conference, it would be like in a hallway where people would be walking by, the media would be all jangled and garbled. It just sucks that it came on Kent State, Buffalo, the last game before our coach, and the last game of the season. My point being, okay, Mr. Kevin Messenger, we understand. I understand we can't have a post game press conference, but if my kid was out there, blood, sweat, tears, possible injury. Shout out to Christian Abney. I want to make sure he's okay. I still don't know what's going on. I hope he's all right. He got injured in the last game. My kid's out there, blood, sweat, and tears, and I can't find a post game press. I can't find the coach talking about what happened. I can't find the quarterback talking about what happened. If you can't make a post game press conference happen, you make something else happen so the fans can still be invested. We still know what's going on. Stuff like that, like just radio silence after the game. I guess they're figuring like maybe not enough people care. You got to make them care. We got
Hmm.
to make them care. We can't just be like, all right, They don't care enough. It's going to get under 100 views. It's Ball State football post-game press conference. We'll do it for home games. We'll do it before the game. But not enough people care for that. We've got to make them care. If you build it, they will come. People don't watch the Pat McAfee show because, oh my gosh, we love the Colts. There's millions of us. We're all Colts fans. No, it's because they're passionate. They come there. Pat McAfee's like in a tank top looking ripped, like making people laugh. We have to have something that's, and Mick Tidrow, shout out Mick Tidrow. He's doing it. He's the only one that's doing it.
He does a great job.
I think they need to push Mick Tidrow, give him more. Go for it. Flap your wings. Focus on men's football and men's basketball, or women's basketball too. The bread and butter, what we're going to get money from. That I just think there needs to be more. There needs to be more.
Yeah, I mean, they can tell you whatever they want. Like, I think it's more that they just don't think enough people are watching. Because every locker room you go in, every locker room I've been in, and I've been in tons in NFL and tons in college football, there's a head coach's office. They can go in there and do it, and they can do it, a Zoom thing that they've done Zoom stuff. I mean, hell, they could just do an audio only one if they really wanted to. I think you hit it on the head that it's just they don't think enough people are going to want to watch it, and that's why they don't do it. I think the space thing is kind of bull, because it's not like they're going to have to sit there. Like, how many people are on the road covering? How many actual reporters are on the road covering this team? Not a lot. Everyone's kind of probably doing it virtually on the road. So, like, you don't need a lot of space to do it. And if you just want to do it, like for instance, so I have a 3-year-old daughter, and last week before Thanksgiving, the men's basketball team was down in Fort Myers playing basketball, and so we drove over, went to the game. Tiny little arena, is a little minor league hockey arena where they played in. They had Michael Lewis and his players sitting in the locker room huddled up, and they were zooming in and doing the post-game thing. Now, I think it was maybe posted the next day or something, but you can figure it out if you really want to do it. Now, again, road games are a little crazy because you're trying to get everything loaded and get out of town and this, that, and the other. I kind of get that, but I think it's more they just don't think enough people are going to watch it personally. But
we got to get the name out there. We got to get the brand out there. We got to make people want to watch Ball State content. We got to give them a reason for that, but we also have to follow through on the content too.
I think the 2025 season is going to have a Ball State of the Union, Ball State football talk post game show live after games. I think
definitely
that's maybe what we should do.
I'd love that. I think
it's what we should do. Okay. Anything else on that?
That's all I got there.
Okay. I'm going to go with another light one as well. Although I don't really have too many heavy ones. I kind of covered my two heavy ones, but this is a personal one. I'm going to show you a picture of my office right here real quick. You can kind of see some of the jerseys. I got a couple jerseys framed back there. This is on the sidewall. I want to have more access to high-end merchandise and game-used memorabilia. Now, what you see here and what you see behind me has basically culminated in me looking online pretty much at least once a day for the past 10 years. This is what I've come up with. I've come up with 3 helmets and 2 jerseys and a couple footballs. And there's really no other way to get stuff.
In the past, something?
Yeah, eBay. I don't really find anything on Facebook Marketplace, but eBay's the main place I find stuff. You used to be able to get stuff through the Cardinal Varsity Club auction, but again, there's not very much of it. And they didn't even do one this year. They just kind of skipped it over. So I would like to see a little bit more of a way to do it. Now, maybe you have to donate to the NIL fund at a certain level to be able to gain access to this type of stuff, like an equipment sale. A lot of schools do equipment sales at the end of the year, so they can they can make room for stuff. They can bring in a little extra money, which everyone always just says how much we need money. And we have a full equipment room full of stuff that's probably been sitting there for a few years at this point that they're not going to use. And a lot of times people will do that kind of at the spring game to entice people to come to the spring game. So an equipment sale would be awesome because that would give more people, the ability to kind of do something like this. And so that's kind of something I would do. I'm a collector kind of by nature, and I like to have, nice high-end Ball State stuff that I can find. But as you see in that picture and kind of behind me, that's about all that's come up. And another thing that I would like to see in conjunction with this, some of the exclusive stuff that they have, again, this could be another a way to generate some money. They will order stuff, let's say for next year, they would have ordered stuff in October. So my thought is always, okay, why don't you open that up again if you're a certain level of whatever the NIL fund is or the Cardinal Varsity Club? Why don't you open that up to those people as well and say, hey, you can buy into this as well, because it's all just pre-ordered stuff at that point. You can buy into this. Say the MSRP on this hat is $30. We're going to buy it for $10. well, if 50 people tell us that they want this hat, then we'll just add 50 hats to the order that we're already going to order. Like they had that Dancing Charlie with the American flag. They had the hat of that this year. I would love to have that hat, but they don't sell it anywhere. And the only way you're going to be able to do that, because you're not going to just take it from the stock that they already have, it's just add it onto the pre-order, and they would already be paid for. You'd already have profit from it, and you'd make the fans happy. So
that's a good idea. I like that.
I'd like
tie
to see
it in
that
with the NIL.
Yeah. And make it be some sort of thing. Yeah, you have to donate a certain amount, and you have access to do that. I know they do that in the Cardinal Varsity Club with getting like parking passes and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of something I would like. Now, again, that's not a super big deal in the grand scheme of things, but I would like it personally.
Sure.
Okay. What
All
you
right,
got?
I got one for you here. Recognizing players who transfer, like on social media, still promoting their accomplishments.
Like this guy.
Exactly, 100%. 4 1,000 plus yard seasons in a row. I don't think things necessarily ended like that terribly with us that we couldn't retweet the guy or like show him a little love. That felt really, really like kind of gross. I mean, I even retweeted the guy and was, showing him some love. And I had people under my account asking me, why are you showing him love? He left us high and dry. He was here for 1 year. And what, 4 1,000 yard seasons in a row? I don't care who you are. He was
three different schools.
Yeah, he's a Ball State Cardinal. He was a Ball State Cardinal. We should celebrate him. If Tanner Koziel transfers, we should celebrate him next year. If Caden Samanza transfers, we should celebrate him. I know right now what I'm saying sounds kind of weird. It's not typical. It's uncommon right now. But in the day and age we're entering, it's time to start. It's time to start showing a little love to the players who come for just a year and go to the next spot. Because here's what happens. We got Justin Bowick, right? Justin Bowick Jr. four games, balls out. Say next year he goes to, I don't know, the Big Ten. He goes somewhere and balls out there. If we promote him enough and he goes somewhere else and plays well, other players are looking at Ball State and they're thinking, oh, wow, I can go to Ball State and then go to the next place and succeed. But the problem we're having is coaches are thinking, if I promote this player too much, someone's going to come in and swoop and take this player. But that happens. That doesn't matter. That's good for us in the grand scheme. If we have players moving on to the next, best thing for them, say they go to Alabama, everybody's not looking. They're thinking, I can go there, do well, even if we're not doing well, because some coaches will have a problem. They're like, we're doing really bad this year, but we're promoting this player. What kind of message does that send? Well, the message it sends is regardless of the season we're having, if you come to Ball State, we're going to push you as hard as we can. And people love that because if they know if I come there and I ball out, they're going to help me succeed. So don't tamper like the love we can show these players. Show them the most love we can show these players because then they're thinking I can get that same love too. If I go out there and I ball out, I fly around like I'm D.D. Snyder, they're going to show me love. But unfortunately, the opposite happened. It's like don't promote Tanner Koziel every week because we're losing every week. He's still going out there giving you 11 catches for 90 something yards. You know what I mean? Like still promote the man. That one really bothered me.
Yeah, and the other issue with that it's kind of short-sighted for them to kind of do what you're saying is all these players talk. And so if somebody comes to say Tanner Koziel leaves and someone comes to him and says, hey, what was your time like at Ball State? He's like, well, I played pretty well on the field, but they did this and they didn't really show me that much. Like these guys all talk and some of that stuff is pretty important to them. So I think it's kind of short-sighted. And it should just be like a situation where it's like, okay, if you come to Ball State, you can come here. We're going to give you a chance to play. You're going to get a chance to prove yourself, get yourself on tape, which is the biggest thing that any of these guys can ask for is to get themselves on tape and get good reps on tape. And then you just kind of go take it how it goes. And, I think it's something that they maybe should embrace, the fact that we are a stepping stone is kind of just how it is right now. Right. I think you'd be smarter to embrace it, like you're saying, than kind of to try and act like we're not.
Definitely. The earlier we embrace it, I think the better. And the better that'll play with other people. If we're the only ones really, really promoting players that even leave, I think people will start to notice that. I think, and it leaves a good taste in people's mouth that leave as well.
Yep. I think so. I think you're right. Okay. I'm going to talk about the fans for a second here. Let's talk about fans. I think there should be some better incentives for fan attendance at sporting events, whether it be football, men's basketball, really anything. Because I think they've always kind of thought that discounted tickets is kind of like the only real way to get people in. And I don't know that I mean, that's obviously important, with today's day and age, how expensive everything is getting. You obviously want to have a inexpensive day out, for a family of 4 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, that's not working that great. We're always pretty far down in attendance, and I have a couple of things later on that will kind of maybe hopefully help some of this. But we're always looking. What's something that gets people out besides a discount or something like that?
Beer.
We got beer. I remember when I was
Cheap
in
beer.
when I was in college, the first couple of years they didn't have beer, and then my last year they did have beer. So that was, but I worked for the football team then, so that didn't really benefit me at all.
Sure.
So beer will get you in. I'm thinking let's get some good, desirable giveaway items. You see that pretty much everywhere else. I was watching a video recently where these guys they kind of go around the country and rank different sporting events or sporting venues and stuff like that. And they went to Kent State. They wanted to go see the worst team in college football. It was a super cold day. It was when they were playing Akron recently. They got there. They had they're giving out Kent State scarves, Kent State hats, all kinds of stuff. Like these guys weren't Kent State fans, and they walked away with a handful of stuff. I would have loved to see. It's a missed opportunity at this point. I would have loved to have seen, and I guess maybe they could kind of do it now since they did this, 100th anniversary team that people kind of voted on, which I thought was pretty cool, and how they gave you a chance to do that. I would have loved to seen a bobblehead line that went along, coincided with that. A Nate Davis bobblehead, whatever, and you incentivize people to come to all the games so they can get all the bobbleheads. Maybe you only make 500 of them or 1,000 of them or something, but it's at least something. Because I think the only bobblehead they made basically in the last 25 years is sitting on my shelf back there. That Charlie. Yeah, I think that's the only one. That's the only one I've ever seen, and I scour the stuff pretty frequently. I guess I'd have to ask my guy sidelines. He might have a better idea if they've actually made more, but.
That goes with promotion. We're not really promoting the players.
No. So I've never seen any actual player bobbleheads be made. It's just Charlie Cardinal. So there's that, let people down on the field after the game or on the court after the game. Let them come down and shoot a free throw. Let them come down and, put some of the promotions people, have them kick a field goal. Like, it's not that serious of a situation. Like, get everyone off the field and let people come down. They do it in baseball all the time. They let kids come on Sundays and run the bases after the game. It's a fun thing that people will do. And, again, when I took my daughter to the basketball game the other day, all she kept telling me the whole game was how she wanted to go down and play. She was getting mad that she didn't get a turn to go and play on the court. Like, I had to explain to her, we're here to watch them play. We don't get to play as well. But if they would have had a thing, hey, come down after the court. The Pacers have done this before. Come down on the court, shoot a free throw after the game, take a picture, do stuff like that. Just kind of fun things to get people, kids and adults, both kind of, engaged in and wanting to go. Something outside of football or basketball. And here's another one. I don't know that they've ever done this. Maybe they have. But I think if they have a late afternoon or night game, have fireworks afterwards. I think that'd be fun. I think that seems like a pretty obvious one that they should do, especially when you're trying to get people to come out. So
when I tweeted about the end game environment and what we could do to make it better, the highest liked response was actually from a lady who said we're one of the few places that doesn't have like cannons firing or fireworks going off, which is, I think that's an interesting component for some people that maybe don't love the game, that are just coming like because someone else loves the game. Like say a kid, they get to see fireworks or a cannon fire. That might be like an additional something to just spruce it up a bit.
It can be anything. Anything can capture someone's attention and get that spark going where they become a lifelong fan of something. It could be anything. You just never know what's going to be. So the more stuff you do and try, the better.
And that's the problem with us. I posted about this earlier. If I'm a kid, say I'm 12 years old when College Football 25 comes out, and I don't have a team because I haven't been to school and I live in some random state like North Dakota or something, and it's just FCS schools. And I just say I randomly pick Ball State, and I'm like, this is going to be my team. I want to root for Ball State. What would I watch that would get me to love Ball State more? Other than like the sports link on the line, what are you going to be able to watch where it's two people going back and forth, even mentioning Ball State football, even talking Ball State football? What's going to get you into that? We don't have anything like that. And I think that really, that's really like a niche that's out there right now that I think we're actually working on, like, as we go back and forth. There's no one out there to like get people interested in Ball State. And that's partially with like short form videos that maybe they need to release on TikTok or wherever the hell they need to do it. But I think there's also something to be said about giving people a platform to have a dialogue about your team and knowing that critical fans are passionate fans. Just because, say, John and I are maybe a little critical doesn't mean we don't love Ball State and bleed Cardinal red.
Yeah, it's
You know,
quite
like that.
it's quite the opposite actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one more thing for the promotion to maybe get people butts in the seats.
Yep.
I like what you were talking about. What about a raffle? For
Yeah.
every game you attend, we throw a ticket in there. At the end of the year, you win a Camry or something. You know what I mean? Like that. That's not a bad little promotion.
Yeah, or like even something kind of cool like that coincides like in the CVC auction in last year or the last couple of years. They auctioned off like you could run out of the tunnel with the team, like you can do a handful, like you could do the Cardinal walk with them, sit in the president's suite. Like there's a handful of things you could do that kind of like wouldn't even cost you anything. Like you could
I
just
like that.
offer a cool experience that's free that you have access to. It's an exclusive thing. Um, all right, I think I got. What else you got? I think I
I
got.
got one last one.
You got one
One
last
last
one.
one
Okay.
for
Yeah, you got one. I got three more, but I'll make them quick.
you. Okay.
Okay.
So during my diatribe on X, there was a player that reached out to me in the DMs about being a former athlete and not feeling supported by Ball State. And we already talked a little bit about the transfer portal and maybe celebrating those players that leave us early, but we do need to celebrate our players that leave and go pro, even if it's not the NFL or NBA. And I did see them after I posted that. I did see them post something about Bryce Cosby in the CFL. So I
Mm-hmm.
think they're working on that. But how should I feel as someone that reps Ball State football to see an athlete? And this was actually, this wasn't football. This is actually basketball. But you know, I still think that's on the athletic department to like make sure these players, if they want to come home, if they want to do something or like talk to the team, I think that's meaningful, and I think it shows players that are at the team right now or potential players coming to the team that we have a good relationship with those players and that we actually still care. I think that'll also, bump interest in coming here, like mostly from word of mouth, maybe even just from the players that are here and transfer out, because it's the same situation in football. Players are coming and going. If they do have a positive rapport with our athletic department and with us, maintaining contact and making sure they're okay. Like, hey, is there any accomplishments? Did you just sign overseas? Can we get a picture of your contract to post? Can we show you a little love? I just don't think we promote enough. And I understand the numbers at the like media place, they're low. We don't have a lot of people. They're stretched thin. I understand that. But you got to make people feel like they were valued for their time at Ball State. I think that's one of the most important things we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we failed a little bit in that regard.
Yeah, that's actually one of the last few ones I had because as a former student athlete at Ball State and a former student manager as well, I never hear anything from either of the programs. As a men's volleyball player and as a football student manager, I never hear anything. The only time I ever started hearing from Ball State was when I started giving them money through the Cardinal Varsity Club. That's the only time I have ever heard from them. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. But yeah, it would be nice to be invited back for some alumni events. Like I was never really worthy of any type of recognition as just a walk on bench warmer. So I'm not asking for that. But yeah, like it would be nice to come back more often or have more often like a player alumni type of events, alumni weekends. We used to have alumni weekend for men's volleyball, but that's kind of gone by the wayside now. Again, don't hear anything about that ever. So yeah, I can kind of speak to that a little bit firsthand. But yeah, if I was like, an all MAC player or some sort of all American for Ball State in any sport, yeah, I would be a lot saltier if I don't hear back from them.
Right. Can you imagine being a player on the Ball State basketball team, going overseas, doing well overseas, and not hearing anything from your alma mater? I just
No.
can't even imagine that. That's just the coldest. That's just it's very cold.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. I had that one written on here as well. Okay. I got two more. I'll make them fast.
Sure thing.
Okay. We're going back to men's basketball one more time. One more time. I would like to see two things in the men's basketball scheduling and non-conference. I'd like to see more games against in-state opponents. I'd like to see more games against, it's not really Power 4, Power 5 in college basketball because there's more power conferences, but I'd like to see more games non-conference against big-time schools. So I went back and did some digging. Since 2019, so that's going on, 5 years now? We've only played what I would classify as 3 big schools. We played Georgia Tech, who we beat, Michigan, and Minnesota. So three games in basically 5 years against.
What about Notre Dame? Didn't we play Notre Dame and beat them?
That was further back though. That was
okay.
outside of my sample window.
Okay.
But yes, so for a while we would have maybe one game a year, but that average has kind of dropped off now. So I would like to see us play, because that again gives people a chance where you can kind of, if you want to go to a big time, if you want to go, take the drive from Indianapolis or Fort Wayne up to go watch the game at Michigan, or to go to Notre Dame. It's kind of another fun thing you can do. I like to go to the big time college football games, but it'd be fun to be able to go to the basketball ones as well. And then I'd like to see us play more in-state rivals. We basically play Indiana State every year. That's our big rival in basketball, but that's the only team in Indiana we consistently play all the time. We don't play Butler all the time anymore. We don't play IUPUI or IU Indianapolis, whatever you want to call them now. Evansville used to be a big rival. We never play Valpo. Like, there's some teams kind of on a similar level. Obviously, Butler's a little bit higher up than Ball State would be, but I think that would kind of get the juices flowing a little bit more if we were playing teams in our state, as opposed to, like, I think our next game is against Southeast Missouri. Like, who cares about playing Southeast Missouri? I'd much rather us play, go play Evansville again, or go play, Valpo or somebody like that. So
100%.
I'd like to see that a little bit more. I like to see that a little bit more. And then football too, yeah.
Football too. When Ball State went to Notre Dame, the game was sold out.
Yeah.
People love Ball State in South Bend. I know we're trying to crack into the Fort Wayne market right now. Look at the South Bend market too. I know it's saturated with Notre Dame, but I mean, there's grads here. There's grads all over the state. We should always be playing Indiana State, Purdue, Notre Dame, IU. I know they're gonna smack us, now, but it's still it'd be great to go and play IU.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to play them in a couple years coming up, but they canceled on us again. They have a habit of canceling on us. We're playing Northwestern instead now. But
okay.
Speaking of Fort Wayne, I got a point about Fort Wayne in this next spot here. I'm looking at this would be our last big point, and it's a fun one. I'm looking at cool neutral site locations for basketball and football games. So I came up with 3 for each. Two of them are pretty chalky. So for basketball, we'll start there. Obviously, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where the Pacers play. We play there sometimes. So that it's not something that we don't do, but it'd be fun to, for a while we were playing there every year, at least one game. So the next 2 are a little bit more out of the box. I wanted to get out of the box with some of these. And these would probably be more for, at least, this would probably be more of an idea for an exhibition game. But it's something the Pacers did back in 2007, and it was really cool. I think men's basketball or women's basketball, whoever, should play a exhibition game at Ball Gym. This is where the basketball teams played from 1925 to 1963, so about 40 years. And when the Pacers did this, they used to play at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum back when they're in the ABA, before they moved downtown and played at Market Square Arena. So they did this in their 40th season. They went back and played a preseason game there, and it was awesome. It was a cool throwback thing. I went to it. I always wish they had done it again, but they never did. I would like to see them do a game there. Again, it doesn't have to be an exhibition game would be perfect because, smaller crowd, the game doesn't actually count. But I think it'd be a fun throwback, nostalgic thing. You could even maybe come back when we were called the Hoosier Runes and change our name from the Cardinals for a night or something like that. And the other one, where to go here? I have it on here. Hold on. My other one is, again, outside the box. But do you know what is about 20 miles south of Worthington Arena? It's the biggest high school gym in America, and that's Newcastle Fieldhouse. Biggest high school gym in the country, not just the state, the entire country. It's the biggest one. It's 20 miles south of Worthington Arena. It's in Newcastle, Indiana. I think it would be fun if they took one of those games that I was talking about, playing a non-conference game against in-state teams. So you played IUPUI, you played Indiana State, you played someone, and you played it here in at some point in the non-conference schedule. Do an in-state game. It ties in the Indiana colleges. It ties into love for basketball and high school basketball. Now, telling these college kids they're going to go play a college game at a high school gym maybe might not go over so well, but it is the biggest one in the entire country. I think it's like over 10,000 people for a high school gym. It's
I
huge.
love that. That's a
So
great idea.
I think again, just an out of the box idea. And then for football, obviously Lucas Oil Stadium. We've played games there. We've won games there before. The other one I actually changed last minute because I had it in Indianapolis. But as I was thinking, we're doing a lot in Indianapolis here. I'm thinking it would be fun if Ball State football played a game at Parkview Field in Fort Wayne. So you've seen this in the Big Ten. Northwestern has played games at Wrigley Field before. You've seen people do this at Yankee Stadium. I think they played a bowl game there, still do. They can play football games at baseball fields. I think it'd be cool if they hosted a football game in Fort Wayne as opposed to Indianapolis, because I think it'd be a lot bigger deal if they did something like that up there.
Has that ever been done at that stadium before?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, they might not all be able to fit. And so I don't even know if some of these are the next idea I have is the craziest one, but I think it's the best one too. But yeah, so I don't even know if it physically is possible, but again, they can do it somewhere different. They can take, we have a lot of Ball State people in Fort Wayne. We can take a game up there. I think it'd be a big deal. I think that would be a fun one.
Great idea.
Now here's
we're looking into that market too. We're trying to crack into there.
So here's the craziest one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I think Ball State football should play a game at the biggest sporting venue in the world. I think we should play a game at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So here's how I think this would work. Are you familiar? Do you ever go to the track down there?
I've never been.
Never been. Okay. So it's obviously huge, 2.5 mile track. So you can't just play right in the middle. So what I think you're going to have to do is you're going to have to play in what's called one of the short chutes. So basically it's the space between turn 1 and turn 2, or turn 3 and turn 4. Now, if you go to the short chute between 3 and 4, there's a lot of parking. There's a lot of like grass space down there. Now, obviously you'd have to get a field. You had to get it. There'd be a lot that went into it. But I think you theoretically could have that field put in there and use the actual grandstand on the other side of the track as a stands, and maybe have some sort of temporary bleachers put in. And yeah, you could say you played a game at the biggest, venue in the world. It's the biggest sporting venue in the world. It can hold up to 500,000 people when it's fully full. Now,
wow,
you're not going to get that many. And I think you probably, for this to work, would have to play Indiana or Purdue or Notre Dame or somebody like that to make it really work. But it's my idea, so I think Ball State should be included.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
That's the craziest one I had, but I thought it'd be pretty sweet.
I did think of one final thing on my Ball State Christmas wish list.
All right.
It is for Ball State of the Union to get a new song, a new intro song.
Oh, no. You don't like it?
I was watching the video. I mean, it's not terrible. I like the lyrics. I think the delivery maybe could be more like, there's like a spectrum where it's, I'm joking and then I'm serious, and it's so in between. But I like the lyrics though, man. I like the lyrics, but I think we could do better.
Do you know that it's a parody of a song that actually exists? Do you know that?
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Look up the song "Talking Baseball," "Talking Baseball." It's a song that came out, I think, in like the '80s, and so I basically just took the audio from it and then just added Ball State lyrics to it.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So it's an actual song, but yeah, I tried, and actually, I'm working on a full-length version of it because I only just did like basically the chorus of it.
Right.
But yeah. So
it is memorable. It is memorable. I think there's something to be said about that. But
that's kind of what I was thinking. My wife thought I was crazy when I told her I was going to write a song, but we did it anyways.
It's the effort. It's the effort.
So hey, I'm gonna go ahead. I think we'll call it a day here because I think I get capped on StreamYard at about an hour. So follow my man Ball State Football Talk on Twitter and X.
Chirp, chirp.
Follow me, just follow John, or subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. And we'll be back at some point soon, hopefully. Maybe we'll get back together and talk again soon. But yeah, maybe once the coach gets hired, we'll get on and talk again.
Yeah, let's go. We gotta get more media presence out there, man. We're doing it for the people. We're doing it for the Ball State grads, the alumni. We're trying to get us back. We want to make us more idyllic for people that are like trying to find a home. We want you here at Ball State. We want to be popular. We want to be the go-to group of 5. We want to be in the playoffs. I know that sounds crazy. Go Ball State. Ball
Trip,
State
trip.
football talk.